All right. This training is going to be on child directed art. So give me just a moment, set up my screen. If y'all hear my dog barking, it's her, Miss Gabby. Right, let's see. Hmm, There we go. Right. Okay, guys. All right. The impact of child-directed art. So, what is your favorite art activity you did as a child or that you have done with your class? In a group setting, this is, of course, something that we would ask aloud and ask each other. So, I'm going to give you guys mine. Can't remember my favorite art activity from when I was a child, but I can say one of my favorite activities that I did with my students when I was a teacher. I would say it had to be when I was working with threes, and I believe it was Mother's Day gifts. We had the kids basically act as if like they were floating. So different images of like them standing up with their hands over their head and like a leg out. And I remember me and the teacher, we took pictures of them. And then we cut out their pictures, laminated them, and attached like an air balloon to the top. And it had like a super cute saying about floating and relative to them loving their mom. Something super cute and simple. I think we found on Pinterest. I would have to say that would probably have to be my favorite one, but I want to also share my favorite opening activity I love to do when I was in a classroom with kids is butcher paper, literally taping it to the entire table. And cutting up squares from tissue paper and color construction paper in a whole bunch of different colors, kind of similar to the background you see here, and giving the kids a glue stick and some safety scissors and letting them have at it. The reason why I would have to say that is my favorite kind of go to is because it's working out so many different things at one time and it's endless on what they can create. And it's not teacher directed, it's child directed. They have glue, like what kid doesn't love glue? Um, they have scissors, who doesn't like to cut stuff? And not only on top of that, you have all these colors, and they have the option to continue just to cut up pieces of paper or cut the pieces of paper and glue them to the butcher paper. Like the opportunities for what they can create and build is endless, right? And it definitely keeps them their attention for a good minute. And it's a great transitional activity just to kind of have something for them to do at a table. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what child directed art is. So child directed art, it is a choice first and foremost. But it allows for the student to kind of explore the use of different items in the classroom, especially outside of just your typical paintbrush and paint, crayons, and markers, right? There is no desired end product. Children have the freedom to just create, to just make art that is led and created by the child with minimum adult direction or interference. So, to kind of hone in on the with minimum adult direction and interference, so kind of how I described the Mother's Day gift I made when I was a teacher, that's not child directed art, that is teacher directed. Why? Because I'm telling the kids to do a silly pose. I'm giving them examples of what to do. I'm telling them what they need to do, right? When we think about child directed, they choose. They choose what they want to do. So that would be that child choosing what pose they wanted to do. Um Now, when it comes to the minimal portion, that can be explained in different ways. So, for instance, how I mentioned the butcher paper, the glue sticks, and the cut up construction paper and tissue paper, that is something that has minimum adult direction. Why? Because I am going to set an example and show them, hey, look, you can cut up these pieces of construction paper and create different shapes. And you can take your glue stick, rub glue on the back, and stick it to the butcher paper. Right? I am giving them some type of direction to give them a basis of what they can do, but I'm not taking control of the situation. So that's when that minimum portion comes in of teacher interference. All right, so let's look at these. Which one is child led and which one is teacher led? Take a minute, look it over, right? We notice a Sharpie in one picture. Do we allow children to have Sharpies to, free write? I hope not, because it makes it really hard to try to take out of things. Look at the other image. It's so pretty, so very well put together. They look very similar. You see how we have the two scarecrows at top, the two acorns at the bottom. The eyes are perfect, right? The little pieces on the top of the acorn's head are perfect. So if you guess this correctly, your answer should be that they are actually both teacher led. Neither one of these are child directed. Let's talk about why. The first one with the fish, right? We have a Sharpie. One, we're not going to allow children to free play with a Sharpie. Maybe school age children, but preschool children and under that age, no. The fish, the folding of the fish, the lines of the fish, how perfect, right? The scales of the fish are. The fins, that is all teacher led. No preschool child can create that by themselves with no teacher interaction and support. Let's look at the second one. We have an owl, we have a scarecrow, we have the acorn, like I mentioned, perfectly crafted, perfectly matching. That is teacher led. Oh, put the eye here, put the nose here because the owl's nose goes here. Put the feet here at the bottom because that's where the owl's feet go. Now, is this me saying that we should never do art like this? Absolutely not. Every parent loves a good teacher led art activity, especially on holidays, special occasions, to take home and put on the fridge. But I want you to take in consideration that parents will show that same enthusiasm and that same initiative, and they will put the scribble page on their fridge. Well, why? Because the kid has a story behind what that scribble actually is on that page because they crafted it, they made it, they take pride in it, right? So we have to create a balance between both of these. These type of images and artwork are absolutely okay, but we need a lot more child directed art taking place in the classroom also, which gives the kids the opportunity to tell us the story of what they are creating and what they're making. Now let's look at this one. Is this teacher led artwork? Let's explain. So, the first one I see blue, I see red, I see yellow, I see patterns, I see scribble markings, curves, and lines. This leads me to believe this child is creating this artwork, right? This masterpiece. Can I tell what it is? Absolutely not. Is it beautiful? Absolutely. That is child led artwork. The second one, we see paint and it looks like a straw. I see splatters. I see a combination of colors. That is child directed art. I don't see a teacher telling him, put a splash here, put a splash there. I see a big collision of colors. That is child led artwork. This is more of what your kids, believe it or not, actually want to partake in and do versus you telling them step by step of what to create. Now let's talk about some of the benefits, right? Cognitively speaking. So, in regards to cognitive development, one, child directed artwork enhances problem solving skills, creativity, and critical thinking for a child. Now, social and emotional wise, it helps them build self esteem, right? Because they're taking pride in something they created. Self expression, because they're getting to express through their artwork their emotions on how they're feeling or how they are feeling about their image. And independence. The independence portion is because they're doing it themselves. They don't have you guiding them, telling them what to do. The fine motor skills portion comes into play is because it's encouraging the development of their fine motor control, right? If you're painting and we're blowing the paint with the straw, you got to hold on to that thing pretty tight. It's working those fine motor skills. If we're coloring, free coloring, with a crayon, and it's not the jumbo crayons, it's the smaller ones. That's them learning to have control through hand manipulation, right? And other various art materials, paintbrushes, sponges, all of that. Anything that is causing the student's hands to work, to grip, grasp, those are all things that are working on the fine motor skills, which all tie into early writing skills, early placement on how they hold their pencil, very much so important things that can only take place for when their child is ready. And speaking of language development, it promotes language use and communication as children, of course, that are of age can talk to you and explain what they created. This is a great conversation starter when children are engaging in opening an artwork because that gives you, the teacher, the opportunity to say, oh my gosh, I see a lot of brown and a lot of pink, and I see some circles. Like, oh, what is that? What does that look like? Can I guess? And you can tell me if that's it or not. This is a great way to kind of see what the kid was thinking as they were crafting this artwork. All right, let's discuss the value of exploration, experimentation, creativity, and why process over product matters. Okay? How to manage mess and allow creativity without the chaos. Okay, first off, I want to say disclaimer, it takes a while to get there. It takes a while to create a system to where students can properly know how to treat items and can put them back where they go and come and go as they please, without so much of your direction. Okay, set up an organized art space. So if you are in your classroom, you should have a shelf or an area, a table, something that is designated specifically for artwork, where a child knows, hey, I can go here to color, or hey, I can go here to cut, I can go here to glue. Okay, ensuring children have access to art materials that are easy to reach, put away. All of this go in hand in hand in promoting independence, which reduces chaos. The reducing chaos comes into part is because when children are allowed to do things independently without always having to ask for the teacher's permission or guidance, they're less likely, right, to get distracted and get caught in a behavior while waiting on your response to come help them. Using smocks and aprons, right? I mean, of course, it's preschool. We want to get messy, but if they're, of course, taking something off the shelf that is something that can really damage their clothes, the use of smocks, aprons, big t-shirts, old t-shirts, clean t-shirts, that you can use to put over them and teach them to, hey, before I grab my paint, I know I need to grab my apron, or I need to grab my smock, or I need to grab a t-shirt, so that way they can practice being proactive when it comes to making sure they're not being overly messy. Okay. And when it comes to materials, so only offering a few materials at once just to kind of avoid the overwhelming feeling of children feeling that need that I need to touch everything, or I need to do everything today because I might not get to do it tomorrow. If children are offered something freely, consistently, that will take away that desire of, oh my God, I got to play with it today, because they know tomorrow they have the same opportunity to play with said item. Okay. So, with that, we want to be able to make sure as teachers we are setting clear expectations, creating boundaries for where art materials can go. Example, paint stays on the paper, or markers are for the easel. For your twos, this is something that you may want to verbally say but do at the same time. Your threes and your fours, you may be able, I would say honestly, your fours, you may be able to kind of just verbally give this direction, and most of them could kind of understand what you're saying. But your twos and threes, you want to show the example. And what that looks like is literally me having a piece of paper at the art table, and maybe I have my paintbrush with the little paint that the child's about to use, and that's me saying, "Oh, paint stays on the paper, not the table," right? Markers for on the easel, not the table. Repeating that 2 or 3 times, being that constant reminder of how we use our items. And involving kids in the cleanup. I can't tell you how many times I've been in an environment and I see the teachers cleaning up. And I'm like, no, 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 no. They can clean up. You can assist. You can be a role model. You can walk around. Oh, I'm putting up my items. I'm putting my paintbrushes where they go. I'm putting the crayons where they go. But ultimately, it is the child's job to learn to take ownership of tidying up their own items, right? We are building them to have that self accountability and that responsibility on keeping their area clean when they are all done with something, to put it away. That goes back to something as simple as, if you're done in this center, make sure you push in your chair. Okay. So now let's talk about encouraging you, the educator, right, to embrace the uncertainty and open ended nature of child directed art, right? Integrating art into transitions. So use art as a transition between activities or even common activities during free play time, which means kids have the option and the choice to go to art. For instance, set up an art station that children can access during, be barking at me, during free choice time, or while waiting for the next activity. Okay? So this could be an in-between space where children know that they can go to the art center shelf and they can pull something off of their choice. And they can do that until their spot is open in dramatic play for them to be able to take a turn. Okay. And secondly, providing ongoing projects. So this means allowing a kid to return to their artwork over certain days. So if it is something that is a little bit more child sorry, teacher led, not child directed, that they need to complete, don't make the child feel almost rushed that they have to complete it in one sitting. Have some things open to where they can actually take time to work on said items a day or two. But that comes in hand with the teacher being proactive and making sure we're not doing any last minute big projects that we know we were supposed to already be planning on doing over a week ago. Okay. And most of all, enjoy the process. I'm telling y'all, open-ended art with kids can be so much fun. Emphasize the joy to your kids of creating. Even if children don't finish their art piece, within a certain time period, highlight that it's okay for them to leave their artwork unfinished in a spot and then return to it later. So let's observe and reflect. Taking a step back during art activities and focus on observing the children's creative process. Reflect on what you notice, right? How are the children expressing themselves when given the freedom to? Which, by stepping back, observing, and reflecting on how the kids engage with each other, what type of conversations they have with each other. This can kind of give you an idea of their interests, but also kind of help you appreciate the process, right? Of the child taking the lead. So, for some of my teachers who are used to structured activities, right? Meaning this has to go a certain way, this has to go there, I have to do this. I got you. Okay, begin by introducing small open-ended art activities where children can choose colors and materials, and then gradually increase the amount of freedom as you grow comfortable with less control. So, what does that mean? Maybe you have markers and crayons out, but you don't have the paint out. They may have to come and ask you for the paint, or you haven't made available on the shelf, but you know they would need help with opening it, right? And that could be something that you can then assist with or decide if it's a good time for a good example. All right. Now let's kind of swing in a gear on how we can bring our parents aboard. Child directed art in the process. So, one, let's show examples of their growth. Document the children's art projects over time and share with the parents how their child's creativity and skills evolves. What does that look like? Hey, if you're having a parent teacher conference, you have pieces of artwork from when they first got in your classroom to now, right? A before and after almost. Look how they used to draw their houses and now they're more defined, shapes, a more defined triangle for the roof, a more defined square for the body of the house. And secondly, creating a classroom gallery. I've seen it a lot and I love it. Keep it up. Pictures being posted around the classroom that displays the child's artwork, even the processed art where it is child directed. Parents love to come in and see, oh, what did you make? Great conversation starter, especially from an adult's point of eye when we might not know exactly what it is that they made. So let's talk about a couple books that are great ways to kind of explore theory of color and color mixing. So Mix It Up is a great book. Um, Very age appropriate for fours. It is a lot of reading, a lot of words. So twos, you probably would have to break it up a little bit. Mouse paint is amazing. And my favorite is the color monster, right? And you can even talk about some social and emotional connections with the color monster as they also go over emotions. Examples of how you can connect the stories you're reading to actual activities. Mix it up, having kids, giving them a blank canvas, tracing their hand, and saying, go for it. You have all these different colors of paint. Let me see what you do with them. And the middle one, color mixing, allowing you to do a science experiment with your kids so you can, they and yourself can see what color makes what with being mixed together. All the colors that I see. I haven't read that one, but I did a little research and that's the one that popped up a lot. So if you check it out, let me know. A Color of His Own. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Love that one. I Am an Artist. I have not read that one. And here are some other great activities I found. Mouse paint from the book. The kids made a whole collage. As you see, everybody's looks different. And the teacher took some black frames and she framed it on the wall because it is a work of art. Stones, right? Scribble Stones is a storybook. The kids got to scribble on stones. As you see, nobody's stones look alike. A Color All His Own. There we go again with the collage, right? You make you make him the chameleon how you see fit to make him. Invitation to create imaginary play with Play-Doh. Making little people. You see, you got pipe cleaners, Play-Doh, it's open-ended. Everybody's is gonna look different. The Color Monster, right? Now this is a little bit more teacher directed because it is cut out, right? But you see the kids got the choice on where to put the colors. Painting with nature, taking acorns. This is great. Hey, here's an acorn. I want you to color your acorn the prettiest acorn that you've ever did, and you choose how you color it. right? A square collage. How I was talking about doing it on butcher paper, they did it on individual sheets of construction paper. Even better. Using shapes in your classroom, putting paint on them and just letting them stamp away on the table, on top of butcher paper or personal size paper. Doing water paint, right? Looks like they took some paper plates, cut them in half, super cheap. You can water down some paint. Here's some paint brushes. Make a rainbow. Build a bug. I thought this was so cute. Literally different pieces. As you see, they are prepped. The teacher cut them. You can tell those circles are perfect. But the child got to make the bug on how they chose to make it. Now, one of these bugs look the same. I see one that almost looks like a butterfly, a caterpillar. Like the child got the choice. Okay. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed this super quick training on child directed art. And if you create some more opportunities for child directed art in your classroom, please feel free to share them to the page. I would love to see them. As always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.